Good evening, Dungeon Masters. I'm Baron Dropper. I guess it's afternoon right now. So welcome to the stream. I've got Dave Thumivore on the stream with me. If you're not familiar with his channel, he reviews lots of different RPG content, all kinds of stuff. Go check him out. But today, the mission here is to review a playtest document. If I can pull it up. Here we go. Everybody in the chat, let me know if you can't see it. We're flying by the seat of our pants here. The playtest packet for Neon Skies, a new Cyberpunk role-playing game that is being developed by Wylock at Wylock's Armory, another YouTuber who I believe is hanging out in the chat. Let's see here if I can get the chat pulled up on my phone. So, Dave, why don't you give us an introduction to what we're doing here today? What do you focus on your channel? Is there anything you'd like to?
Yeah, so
like to
I've had a YouTube channel for a few years where I focus on indie and third-party RPGs. I tend to do straight reviews. I try to make them information dense and just try to give people an idea and have my reviews double as sort of like evergreen content where new players can come in and watch the video and sort of get a top to bottom idea of the game's rules. But more recently I've tried to insert more opinionated content into the reviews, and that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So anyway, let's crack open this playtest document and see what we've got going on here. So this isn't like a completely, totally cold read, which I did intend to do. I have playtested a prior version of this game. I have played part of a session in a prior version of this game. And then Wylock said that this latest playtest packet has changed just enough to warrant like a whole new fresh look. So I got to page 4 and I was like, I want to do this with everybody on the stream so that we can talk, everybody can kind of see what my thought process is as I'm going through a new rule set, like the kinds of things I'm looking for, what I feel like should stand out to me as good game design, what bad game design looks like. And I've already discussed with Wylock, this is going to be, we'll be polite about it, and this is a playtest document. Nothing in here is final, obviously, but this is definitely going to be a gloves off review. So we won't be brutal, but we will be honest. So Dave, is there anything that you particularly look at when you're doing a cold read? And
yeah, I mean,
the document here.
I'm doing cold reads all the time, right? So like,
right.
I have questions that are just endemic. The first thing is, what is this game trying to achieve? For example, this game here is trying to do Cyberpunk rules light, just topically.
Right.
What does it do differently from similar games? I'm always looking for novelty, and I'm always passing on games that I could review, but they're not adding anything new to the table. If a game has a reputation, what is that reputation, and does it live up to it? Obviously, games like this don't yet; they're not released yet, so probably not much of a reputation. And then I'm asking myself, how much effort has been put into the presentation. No matter how good a game is, I'm sort of biased. Like I really need the presentation to be decent. And in this case, we're in a rough draft mode, but I really do like the presentation here that Wylock's done.
Oh yeah, the presentation for playtest material is phenomenal. But
this is really good. Yeah,
this is phenomenal.
I do find it hard to assess playtests that are just like a Word document or something.
I totally agree with you. Yeah.
So yeah, you have a point there. This is actually really exceptional. And then the final question I have is with any reading is, and you can usually tell, is if it's been play tested. Something that I'm thinking of recently is I reviewed what was it called? Sword of the Serpentine, and Kevin Culp. It's a Emily Dressner Gumshoe Swords of the Serpentine game. It was extensively play tested, and you could tell because almost every page had a little boxed text box where it sort of like gives you advice on how to play the game or GM the game. And you could tell they just played it like 100 times. And that's a good sign. That just means there's more polish on it. And yeah, so those are the things I look for.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So the things I kind of look for like along the same lines, the stuff that you look for. What I'm always looking for is like, do the rules have a certain like diegetical feel, or like is there a certain kind of established fiction that the game wants to convey? So Cyberpunk is a very clear, like everybody in their mind, you close your eyes and you know what Cyberpunk looks like, right? It's Blade Runner, right?
Yeah.
So do the rules support that story? And then also, is there something in the rules that specifically makes it feel cyberpunk other than just a contest resolution system? Like you've got to have a contest resolution system of some kind, like even if it's just roll a single d6 and, you know, depending on your skill level to you know, tells you how high of a number you need to roll on the 6. Like that's the most simple version of a contest system. But you know, is there some sort of like dice mechanic or gameplay mechanic that helps reinforce what Cyberpunk looks like? So that's something I'm going to be looking for here as well.
Right. Yeah. Do the rules reinforce the theme, the setting?
Exactly. And then also just clarity of rules. And you know, in a prior version of the playtest, I felt like that was something that I struggled with, was like constantly flipping back and forth between, like, I had questions as a user, and like going back and looking at the prior version. We'll get into it.
Yeah, sure.
We've got 57 people on the chat. We'll get into it. But a prior version, I felt like I had questions, and I was constantly flipping between like 4 pages to get the cohesive answer. It was almost like reading original Dungeons and Dragons white box. But anyway, so let's get into it. I love the art. I want to start here with the Rebel's Paradox.
Yeah.
I love that we get not just, hey, this is Cyberpunk, but we get like a very specific kind of Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
You know, this is, and Cyberpunk is not just, you know, dystopian corporate America or corporate Western society or East Asian society has taken over the government and is now running everybody's lives, and the only way that people can cope is with, you know, drugs and technology.
Yeah, this discussion here really reminded me of the philosophical banter between the Tachikomas in Ghost in the Shell standalone complex. I don't know if you ever saw that anime.
I have not seen that,
okay.
But yeah,
there are these sort of sentient robots that are police tanks, I guess, but they have these very kiddie voices, but they engage in these incredibly deep philosophical discussions. and this really, I mean, and it's a sort of a cyberpunk anime series, and this just reminds me of that. It's like there's things you can't, this paradox that Wylock presents is impenetrable, you know, and it's like, this is how it starts. Sure. This is how the book starts. It's
exactly great. And it's like, I love that, like, does the answer to this paradox, or the lack of answer to this paradox, just further the cyberpunk dystopian depression, you know? And no definitive answer can be had. You know,
it sort of puts you inside a box and closes it, and that's how it starts the game.
Right, exactly. So, you know, that's kind of what we're going on here, and I'll just read it for people who are listening to the live stream. If you are not a puppet, then you will never be able to prove that a puppeteer doesn't exist, for the absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. No definitive answer can be had. But if you are a puppet, then that rage must also necessarily have been generated from the puppeteer. The very idea to ask the question in the first place must have come from its master, and the puppet would have no way to demonstrate or even acknowledge this. No definitive answer can be had. I just absolutely love that. You know, it almost reminds me of what is it? The book, Slavoj Žižek's Sublime Objects of Ideology. It's like, do we manufacture our own ideology, or does the society's main ideology manufacture our behavior? And like, you can't, it's a completely entangled thing. So anyway,
right.
So I love like the expressive, whimsical artwork. That's a really nice take on Cyberpunk. I love Wylock Armory logo. I just now noticed that.
Oh, nice catch.
Yeah. That's new. But yeah, I love this stuff. This is great.
I do appreciate this style too.
Yeah. I just get so tired on like the Magic the Gathering card artwork that you see everywhere in RPGs. I just want some diversity of thought here.
Yeah.
So anyway, got some credits fixed up later. We'll move on. Love this guy. This is a cool guy. How's everybody doing on the chat? Let me know if I need to like zoom out or zoom in as we start going through this. So we've got some boilerplate. What is a TTRPG? Coming from other RPGs. So I believe this is still a classless system where you just kind of pick, those do not exist in this system. So if it's like the prior playtest concept still, then you're just picking skills or feats. I can't remember what they're called, but some sort of, skill tree type thing, and leveling them up independently of each other.
Right. There was one note here that I caught. It says on the right, it says, further, the system has been designed to be executable purely in a theater of the mind manner without compromise. I mean, I guess if we're being nitpicky here, Wylock, you have a page. You have a page later in the book that describes using basically a 1-inch grid and movements and stuff with a grid. So I guess there is that compromise. And so, I do
with compromise.
Right. But I found this sentence to be kind of interesting because Wylock's a crafter guy, right? Like he does these awesome crafts on his channel. He's been doing that for years. So to design a game that doesn't require and almost, rejects crafts and tabletop terrain and stuff was an interesting choice.
Yeah. No, that's a good call out. So most systems include rolling one or more dice to hit a target number or difficulty class. None of these exist in this setting. So when the night falls, the city comes alive. Action takes place. The DM is called an admin. I love that. Let's see here. Parlance time about town. All right, so let's get into it. So this is an entirely D6 dice pool system. And I love that the core mechanic is just laid out real clear. So Sling X. So we'll notice this a lot. There's a lot of like cyberpunk thematic terminology that replaces what might be a normal RPG vocabulary word. So you're not going to see the word like dice check in this game. It's going to be something called a sling. And a sling means to roll XD6. So like if we're rolling 6 dice, sling 6, that means roll 66. And if you have any 6s, you succeed.
This is reminiscent of Free League's Year Zero engine, where a 6, it's just D6s, and then a 6 is a success. But in this case, multiple 6s don't, compound your success. It's just any 1 6 is a success.
Right. Okay. So then you apply bonuses by adding or subtracting the number of dice you have. What I like about this, and I think he's still... Yeah! So this was something that was in the old AD&D first edition Dungeon Master's Guide that I thought needs to be put back in. to the DMG, and it is not talked about at all in the. I mean, don't get me started on the 5th edition DMG. It's pretty abysmal as far as actual support it gives to new dungeon masters, but this graph is really important to fully grok what's actually going on with a dice pool system like that. Excuse me, because the difference in scale here, like if you only have one die, you have what, a 16% chance of a success rolling a d6. You have a 2 die. Like, look at how just having 2 die doubles the frequency of success here. But as you add more dice, the level of success you have dramatically slopes off. And this is very similar to like what people experience in real life. Like, you can get decent at archery in a few months of practice, but to get to the Olympic level takes years, right? Like it you have to dedicate your entire life to it, and you only get, incrementally better. Like the actual amount of skill level to double from being good enough to go bow hunting, for example, to winning a silver medal in the Olympics is, I could be good enough to go bow hunting in 6 months of practice. There's no way in 6 months of practice I could be good enough to be a silver Olympian. So, the dice pool system here and this graph really drives that point home.
Yeah, agreed. I like this graph. I do have one question. Maybe you can help me answer it.
Okay.
On the previous page, on the last sentence, it says, if bonuses would ever have you roll more than 10 dice, no roll is needed, you automatically succeed, which means 11 or 12 dice should be 100% success, right?
Right. So 11% is, I guess this is an 88% or so.
But it's an automatic. If it's more than 10 dice,
if it's more than 10
automatic success.
Right.
So those 2 dots at the end should both be at 100%, right? Because it's more than 10 dice, right?
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. I don't know. Maybe the vocabulary needs to be changed to 12 dice or something.
Maybe,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He also notes that this chart is not exactly accurate, but I was just looking at the hard numbers. It didn't.
I'm curious what he says in the chat if he comments to that. Let's see here. Okay, so the power curve system that he has it again tabular. Let's see here, to be percentile dice are never used. He just is using that to show what it looks like. Let's see, setting. So we've got some lore coming out here. Cyberpunk role-playing game established. Let's see here. So I love that, you get the gist in bullet points. I love when lore is delivered to me in digestible bullet points. I don't ever want to I get approached a lot with people who are like, hey, can you review my campaign setting? It's like a chonky book. And like, I understand that they've just prosed and prosed and prosed and they've just put everything in. But, if, I'd love to have more usable content in as few pages as possible. And just give me the ideas. Because I'm going to change them when I get to the table anyway. So just give me the idea. So artificial enhancement through technology, neon, casual, ultra violence. So a little bit of Clockwork Orange going on. Intense classified with rebellion at its core. Yep. Angry music and riotous environment, cyber jargon. So, and you see that like cyber jargon with the rules. So, on the one hand, I like that cyber jargon is part of the rules. On the other hand, I feel like that's a barrier to people who are very well entrenched in playing RPGs, but play very casually, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like that would be very confusing to them. Because, if you've got a beer and pretzels role player who just wants to show up and smash goblins and save the town, the jargon can be a barrier to fun.
I think the most intrusive term used in this game is sling. It just comes up a lot. But on that same token, if you're running this game, you don't have to say sling. You can just say roll.
Sure, of course.
It's so easy to opt out of that.
Yeah. Let's see here. So Amethyst. So what has come before? I like that we just get like short 2 sentence. Tellurium 733 is found to be a useful replacement for uranium. You can tell that Wylock is a nuclear engineer. Let's see here. Cabling becomes a rat's nest. So worldwide data approaches 1 yottabyte. I work in information technology, and I don't believe I've ever heard of the term yottabyte.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Legislation passed to address the growing load, and construction begins on an OmniNet. So we've got a data cloud maintained by millions of data relay satellites forming a spherical shell in low Earth orbit. So this right here, just, because I'm a geopolitics nerd, that is prime gold for things that have not been explored in fantasy or real world geopolitics yet. Like, people are just now starting to try and figure out the geography of space and its social implications. Like, we are just now getting to that point.
Mm-hmm.
So this is really cool to see, as like this right here is pioneering, and I like to see that. There is no central server host because it's all interconnected, so it's distributed blockchain. Let's see here. Ross ice shelf effectively redraws, and the topology of the modern word catastrophic flooding.
Well, okay, so go back up a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
2050. Most people drink the Kool-Aid. They drink this compound that networks their minds
body
into
the OmniNet. Yeah,
into the OmniNet, right? Which is pretty dystopian, and it'll probably happen one day. But
would you do that, Dave? Would you be a Kool-Aid drinker?
I would drink it immediately.
I'm not sure. I'm one of those weirdos. I don't want anybody to know. Like, I've tried to de-Google myself as much as possible, yet here I am on my YouTube channel. I'm like this just gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah, no, it's terrible. It's a really dark. It stood out to me as the darkest moment in this game's history. That 80% would drink it.
Yeah. Exactly. The largest among a few remaining population centers is Rook City. So, you've got completely flooded most of the world, and any cities that are left are now just crowded, neon, dystopic mega cities.
Yeah.
Psionic abilities have begun to manifest all over the planet. We've got some TBD stuff here. So the implications of every person on Earth being an android begin to be challenged. A culture war is born. This is where you come in. Okay. So we get a little bit more narrative lore right here. Let's get into we got an example of play, which is good. How have you received examples of play in the past before we start talking about them?
I tend not to read them, and on that note, I tend not to read the fiction, like little short stories and stuff. But that's because I'm often reading to get to the core of things, and I can so the fiction, it's nice. I don't know. It's probably more fun to write than it is to read. The play examples, I can actually learn a game faster by just reading the rules outright.
Right.
But if I were to need to go back and clarify something, if I'm going to run the game, I might go back and read an example of play. It's helpful. Okay.
Yeah. I think the only time I've ever found an example of play truly useful was when there was like a really weird, like a novel mechanic.
Yes.
That the game writer had developed.
Yeah.
It was something I hadn't seen before, and I didn't understand how it worked on a cold read. And having an example of play made it very crystal clear.
Sure.
But yeah, I think also the only time I've seen an example of play that was that's an incomplete thought. Let's move on.
Okay. This is a long example of play.
Oh yeah, this is a very long example of play. Okay, so I'm not sure if what I'm about to say, because we're breezing past it, I'm not sure if what I'm about to say is useful, but example of plays that I have seen in the past was the West End D6 revised, remastered, uncut fan version that's floating around somewhere in the Star Wars ether. That has like, you have like the tutorial character that walks you through like how to create a character, how to game master the game, and then every time a new rule or concept comes up, you get an example of play on like a 3-paragraph spread
Right.
that talks about.
So he keeps popping up.
Right. So you get the game as an example of play in breadcrumbs, and
I
this
like
is
that.
really long.
Yeah.
And I'm not like, you'd have to constantly like in the book in physical format, you'd have to really flip back and forth. Wow.
Yeah.
How many pages
I
of
told
this
you.
is
I
there?
told you.
Holy cow. Okay, so hold on, let's look at this illustration. I love this guy, cigarette hanging out his mouth.
Yeah.
He looks like he's not having a good day. Okay. So we got body, mind, and soul as the 3 pillars. And you know what? That's plenty. I see a lot of people try to do more than that, and that's plenty.
I know.
And then we have,
I thank you. I feel the same.
yeah.
Although it's really, with the 3 attributes, it's really, you do have kind of 6 core attributes here.
Right.
But they're good. I like these attributes.
Yeah. Okay, so then we have 3 attributes. They are not pillars. So what are the pillars? Let's look at this real quick. Just to refresh myself. Your character is defined by 3 pillars. So body is obvious, mind is obvious, soul is X factor of personality. Do you thrive or survive? How well do you interact with people? Are you grounded in your true self? And this question right here, I feel like a lot of people, when they first come into Dungeons and Dragons, they think charisma is just like, I feel like charisma is both an over and underutilized ability score, because it's almost all the spellcasters use charisma, but that doesn't translate well because like there's also no ability score saves for charisma. And I feel like a lot of like the charisma type stuff or like fear should all be based on charisma, not on wisdom. Like charisma
right.
should be like presence of self.
Yeah.
Are you grounded in yourself?
Yeah.
Are you able to keep yourself from going mad?
Yeah.
Like, just because you are exceptionally wise does not mean that you will keep yourself together if you read the old Elder Scroll.
Right.
Right. So let's see. You have 3 attributes. Resiliency is tough. Knack is raw luck to find a way, and cyber, things for all things digital.
Knack is really cool in this game. I like the way Knack is a spendable point pool.
Yeah. So whenever you receive damage and fail to soak, you suffer a wound. So that's unusual from people coming from D&D. You're rolling to hit an armor class, and then if you succeed on that, it's a totally binary operation. You either fail or succeed, and you take damage. In this one, you're gonna make attack rolls, and if you're successful, then you try to soak the damage from the attack roll, and whatever bleeds over is wound.
Yeah.
So let's see here. Your character possesses a variety of traits that make them unique. Mechanically speaking, traits make you more effective at routine tasks. Traits do not have prereqs, and there are no classes or professions. And then one of the things that you can get are biographs, which are effectively, like mechanically, if I remember correctly, they're effectively the same thing as traits,
right?
Except that you have to pay cash in game to get them,
right?
So
I think you have to use a downtime action to get them. So, but yeah, they're like traits. They're sort of different, but the same.
But you also have to find somebody who's willing to cut your arm off and put a mechanical arm on.
Right.
So that's also a really good way of like bringing air quote magic items into the game. So advancement, you're constantly training something in development, and then there's an XP curve for leveling it up into mastery. So this is really fun because it kind of encourages you to do a sort of jack of all trades character by the way that the curve is spent because you're punished for leveling up something into mastery effectively, right? Like
Yes.
you expend a lot of XP to get into mastery with a
Right.
skill, but the degree of success that mastery offers you is less and less every
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's interesting. And that's cool.
Yeah.
Let's see. After you get enough XP, trait is immediately gained. Okay, so quick character creation. I love that this is here, especially for people who, I don't. The beer and pretzels player is going to want this
Oh,
because
for sure.
they just want to make the dude, they just want to make their D&D character in Cyberpunk and move forward.
Yeah, and this is a beer and
Yeah,
pretzels cyberpunk game for sure.
absolutely,
It's super
100%.
casual. Yeah.
Yeah, what I've seen of it so far, I really appreciate how interesting and crunchy it is, despite how approachable it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see here. Distribute 9 points among your attributes any way you like. None can be lower than 1. None can be higher than 5. You have 30 XP to spend obtaining your traits. And then you must spend at least 3 of those XP on weapons training. Choose 2 or more traits in development and purchase some equipment. You can get biographs too. So you can start the game hooked up to all kinds of robot arms.
And as a GM, if you want to get your players started, jump started, you can give them more money to spend on that.
Right. I should just highlight that for Wylock. That might be worth having. Like if you want to do a high power air quote campaign, that might be a fun, page to throw in here. If you don't have something in here like that, just a rough guideline on how to make that happen. Okay, so we got some archetypes here, which is great. This is how you have classes if you don't have classes.
Yeah.
It's just like I don't want to think about it. Just tell me what to do.
Yeah.
So you get all of them, and this is great. I love the artwork.
Yeah,
this is great artwork.
It is.
That tattoo on her leg, the dragon. That's so cyberpunk. I mean, is girl with the dragon tattoo cyberpunk?
Maybe you should do a video on that.
Oh man. Because it almost is.
Almost.
It's just so. It's like, yes, it's a modern drama, but it's so dark.
It does have those elements.
Yep. Okay. So, population of Rook City is massively diverse and interesting roster. When you create a character, you can basically do whatever the heck you want. So, make a backstory. Traits are where the rubber meets the road. They are what make your character unique. Reserved for artwork. Okay, so now we got a bunch of different traits. So we can just kind of skim through these. We'll pick a few of them out just to highlight some here and see what's going on. So are there any you want to call out as interesting?
I guess on page 31, Pack Rat,
Pack Rat?
It kind of reminded me that in these games where you have traits as sort of the backbone of the game, there are always those traits that you probably would never pick. And I think Pack Rat's probably one of them. So the game gives you
never pick?
I mean, yeah, because there are just better ones than this. Like in this game, your character can by default carry 5 weight.
Right.
So to be able to carry an extra weight, I don't know. There are so many other more powerful traits than that. So like these are what I would call a throwaway. I just would avoid it.
Yeah. Let's see here. Intuitive. Whenever you sling to determine a subtext of a social situation, apply your soul score as a bonus for each rank. I'm not sure I know what that means since this is a dice pool.
Right. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of
that. Yeah. And that could have been explained further up. But let's see here. Dual wield, field medic. Let's see here. Chemist, clean coder. Whenever the admin rolls for consequences after an Omninet dive move, subtract 1 from that roll for each rank. So we'll get into what Omninet diving is later, which is an interesting idea for sure.
Yes.
I think Mothership's hacker supplement tried to do something sort of like what it is. I've not used it though, so I'm not sure how
Was that
successful it is.
an official Tuesday Night
Uh,
Games publication or third party?
Tuesday Night Games has sold it. I don't
Okay.
know if it's got their logo on it. I've got it floating around in my bookshelf in the other room. Okay, so let's just give everybody Psionic Mastery Sling to apply a 1d bonus to. So this maybe it's an issue with vernacular and playtest. Maybe a 1d bonus makes sense, and like apply the sling. What was the other one you said?
Pack Rat.
Or no, not Pack Rat.
Oh,
What
the
was
one. I lost it.
yeah, there was intuitive. Apply your soul score as a bonus.
Right.
Maybe one thing that I both love and hate about 5th edition is how 5th edition has a very clear, like if people pay attention, it has a very clear vernacular on how it describes its mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
Like choose a target that you can see within range.
Mm-hmm.
Like that sentence is very explicit.
Right.
The target takes 8d6 on a successful save or half, or on a failed save or half as much on a successful one. Like there's a very specific vernacular.
Yeah.
And I think maybe we are confused, and this could just be that it's a cold read. Having the vernacular cleaned up in some of these places, like is that a better way of saying it? Just so that it's consistent. Where apply a +2 bonus, like to the sling to use, just a very explicit, repetitive format that helps people develop a certain expectation.
Sure.
Let's see here. Psionic traits. So only awakened characters can gain access. Becoming awakened. Whenever you are in the dying condition, as an action, you can attempt to become awakened. That's cool.
Yeah, this is a really interesting sort of gateway that you have, a bottleneck that you have to go through in order to gain these powers. I thought it was really cool.
Right. So you roll 1 die, and if you're successful, you are instantly awakened and immediately gain 3 XP to spend on a psionic trait of your choice. Your character is changed forever. Now, when you are in the dying, as an action, attempt. So I'd like to know if this means that this is optional. Like I would want that to be explicit. Like, do I have to do this?
No, it says you can. You can attempt.
It says you can. I missed that. Sorry. Okay.
I mean, I can't imagine anybody not trying it. Why not?
Depending on my character build, I might not.
Yeah.
I might not want to do that.
Well, the 3 powers on the right are all they're based on your 3 pillars. So you've got to have one pillar that's strong. Sure. At least one of these powers will be strong for you, but no matter what build you have.
Right. Let's see here. Then your brain is fried and you're instantly dead without the possibility of resurrection. If you do not succeed in an awakening attempt, and if at least 1 die came up as 1, then hold on. There's another possible outcome, and this is a very rare occurrence, where a die result other than 6 is relevant. If you do, okay, so this is another, word choice thing. At least 1 die, but you're only slinging 1, so that's a little confusing there.
Right. So if you are slinging 1,
right,
what is that? 18% chance of completely losing your character.
So. I think it's like a 16.5%, something like that.
Yeah.
So if you come out the other side, sure, you can have kineticism, but you've also got almost 20% chance. That's what, rolling a 6 or lower on a D20.
Yeah.
Do you want to take that chance on to have your character just die right there?
Just die.
Yeah. So anyway, empathy, you can attempt to rearrange the organic matter of another person to heal them. Interesting that this would be called empathy.
That's empathy is more of a non-physical thing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Let's see, that person immediately recovers wounds equal to ranks. Let's see, kineticism, you can rob the surrounding area of energy and coalesce it into pyrotechnic bolus as an action. I like that it's pyrotechnic. That preserves the entropy of it.
Yeah.
I almost want an option to create singular. Oh wait, hold on. Is telekinesis that you can attempt to move object there? That's what I wanted.
Yeah.
Okay, as an action, choose to move an object no heavier than 300 pounds. Yeah.
So I love the telekinesis, the way it scales up
Yes.
exponentially.
Right.
Um, and I'm wondering if that could be possible for the other two as well. What is the
Ooh.
rank?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the rank? Like, so third rank in telekinesis, you can move 30,000 pounds, but rank of what exactly?
Rank of the telekinesis skill. So this is a trait.
That's a trait.
That's a
Okay.
trait like
Yeah.
the other traits.
So
Yeah.
empathy and kineticism should also have like
Some sort of.
some sort of
Yeah. No,
step.
I agree with that entirely. Yeah, because this one definitely scales.
Yeah, and that's
Which one?
fun. I mean, that's an incentive to push that rank to
Right.
30,000
Right.
pounds. That's a fun scene right there.
Yeah. And in fact, this kind of gets broken compared to the other traits
Hmm.
because if all the other traits, effectively you have diminishing returns on investment
Yeah,
with all the other traits when you level them up.
yeah,
This one has an exponential gain.
right.
And as far as I understand, this is the only one in the only trait in the game where you have exponential gain.
Oh, that's a good point.
So, is everybody going to just be funneling characters into deathly situations so that they can get like I'm just trying to think through like what are the worst case scenarios of
Right.
exploiting game design? Like what would people on Reddit
Yeah.
say?
How would you min max this?
Right. Exactly. Let's see here. So, how many pages is this document? 83, and we're on 34. So, I like that it's 83 with plenty of artwork because like I'm very much the kind of DM like less is more. This artwork is so great. Is this?
Yeah.
Oh no, this is placeholder artwork.
Oh,
I was about to say this is a different style. Did we get a
right.
different artist? Yeah. Let's see here. So getting things done. Later in the chapter, several systems are prescribed for performing most activities involved night thriving, combat, hacking, commerce, downtime, etc. There's a very good chance that anything a player character wants to do is bounded in those systems, but any other task that a character might try that isn't, they propose an ad hoc action. The admin selects the most appropriate of the 3 pillars and tells the player to sling the pillar. Remember that for an ad hoc action, the admin will only ever ask to sling body, mind, or soul. The admin will never ask to sling cyber toughness or knack or any other arbitrary score. Interesting. I'm not sure how I feel about that.
So cyber toughness and knack are sort of like these secondary attributes.
Yeah,
that
they're the
have different-
secondary attributes.
Right.
Cyber is for, yeah. I mean, I understand not using knack for sure. I get that because that's just a bonus dice pool. It's like the Tetris. I'm gonna save my Tetris piece bank of dice. Failed ad hoc actions cannot be reattempted by the same character. Like that should just be a rule across RPGs generally.
Yeah.
Let's see. Is it always like unless circumstances dramatically change, you should not be able
it's
to
like a
reroll.
default for sure.
Yeah. Let's see here. The admin will not arbitrarily impose bonuses or penalties to sling, as this would negate the entire point of traits and other character abilities. When posed with a task, the admin should always consider the task from the point of view of a perfectly average or untrained person. So I understand this as a concept, but how do you say, like, if I'm trying to pick a lock, the skill dictates a very specific outcome of like like the most, like, think about it from this perspective. I walk up to a house, I'm a burglar, I pick the lock, I go in, but it's 2 a.m. Or really honestly, I'm in a moving uniform and I've got a U-Haul or a moving truck, and I go up to somebody's house that's not they're at work and it's 2 p.m. and I pick the lock, right?
Yeah.
Or I have like a bump lock.
Yeah.
And I'm listening for the lock. And that's a very easy thing to do. The only thing I have to worry about is the dog barking across the street.
Yeah.
But if I'm trying to pick a lock and like bro dude behind me is slapping people with telekinesis at 3,000 pounds. You know, they're hauling 18 wheelers through
Yeah.
the sky at people. There's just a lot of noise. I'm not going to be able to hear the tumblers rolling around in this lock.
Honestly,
So
I've never seen a rule like this where
yeah,
the GM is not supposed to ever modify the difficulty of a task
right.
through mechanics. I'm not sure. Yeah, I agree with your question. I'm not sure
Yeah,
how the game would accommodate or account for different environmental, you know,
yeah,
problems. I don't know, but
yeah.
I do know that later in the book, Wylock says that he didn't want admins to make a task too easy.
Mm-hmm.
But it goes both ways. What about making it harder? I
Make
don't
it
know.
harder. Yeah,
Yeah,
I want to just add. I just want to take away 2 dice if something's difficult. I want to take away 2 dice. You know.
and the notion here is that if you do that, you're breaking the game.
Yes.
So I don't
This
know.
is an interesting assertion,
Yes.
and it's very unusual. And I
Yes.
would love to see. Wylock just said, "I will revisit the rule on difficulty penalties and give it more thought." Yeah. Let's see here. And there's I'm not going to propose a solution because there's a lot of different solutions
Yeah.
that could be done for that.
Right.
Let's see here. Don't ask for a roll. The character fails. Unlikely or impossible. If it is unlikely, it would ever reasonably fail at this. Climbing a ladder, writing, yeah, the character succeeds. I see a lot of people. This is one thing that frustrates me about a lot of the physical translocation and locomotion rules in 5th edition. Like climbing a rope for 10 feet requires a climb check.
Yeah.
You know, or a strength or an acrobat or an athletics check, I think.
Yeah.
But like, why? Why can't I just go up the rope?
Sure.
Like, if it's a knotted rope and it's a dry rope and I have decent visibility and nobody's chasing me, why can't I just go up the rope? You know. And why is it progressively more difficult the higher the rope I go?
Yeah,
You
and
know?
then,
If anything, that should be a constitution check if I'm climbing a quarter-mile rope.
Yeah,
You know?
seriously. Failing something like climbing a rope is such a drag on the scene.
Oh yeah. Like I understand it when like I've got 2 ogres at the bottom of the rope trying to swat at me. Sure. You know, falling off is dramatic. But let's see here. This task is certainly possible. Ask for a roll. Let's see here. We got a few examples of the mechanic in motion. Knack. Before attempting any sling, you can expend knack points and apply a +2d bonus for each such point spent. The expenditure of knack is tracked cumulatively through the day and replenished during downtime. So this is kind of like inspiration-ish in 5th edition.
Yeah, most games have it. Most games have a little meta pool like this. This is a good one. I like it.
It's interesting. To call it inspiration is actually bad. It reminds me more of Star Wars West End D6's what is it? Force dice, where, you know, in a cinematic moment, it makes sense to turn your dice pool into all wild dice, which is a huge boon, you know. So you spend a force point, and now instead of just having one wild die, you get all your dice. You know, it's similar to that.
Right.
Let's see here. So all your dice become exploding dice instead of just one of them. Contests. Whenever 2 characters directly compete, the admin selects a pillar and tells both to sling at the same time. If one succeeds and the other fails, the former wins the contest. If both sides succeed or failed, they both remove 1 die from their pool to a minimum of 1 and sling again. This process is repeated until there is a winner. That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know statistically if it matters if you remove a die or if you just roll the same pool again on both sides.
Well, if, for example, I've got... So remember that the pool is... If I roll a single 6 or any number of 6,
right. Yeah.
So if I succeed and I only had 2 dice in my pool, removing one of them and trying again is really, really rough.
If I had, let's say you started with 3 and I started with 4 and we tied. And then the next roll you would have 2 and I would have 3.
Mm-hmm.
So is that different? Is the probabilities different from the first attempt.
because if you remember, when you progress into fewer dice down the power curve, the power curve becomes more extreme.
Okay, right.
So
Okay.
the person who is not as good
Has a worse and worse chance.
has a far more worse
Okay.
chance the next go
Okay.
around.
Okay.
Which
It's
is
an interesting choice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice. It shows that, like, the peon might get lucky and
Yeah.
throw a few punches, and then, like, diegetically you might say, like, oh, they're putting up a few blocks, and now it's like, nope, big guy
Yeah.
just grabbed your fist and now
Yeah.
he's twisting you and throwing you on
Right.
the ground.
Right.
So malices, Rook City is a harsh place. Fates are conspiring to keep you down. A malice is a temporary decrease of one of your scores by one whenever you're stricken by a random malice roll on this table. So I guess that'll be used later.
Malice comes up a lot, and
Okay.
this is a pretty harsh penalty. Actually, I feel.
Is it? D6
Yeah, because
random
it'll remove a point temporarily from one of your core stats.
Okay. Let's see here. So use small bubbles under the score to keep track of malices affecting you. If it's possible to have a score go to 0, if you would apply other malices directly to a at 0 reroll. Okay, so what happens if your scores are at 0? I don't think that's been discussed.
There's no you don't have any bonus. Oh no, you're right.
You can't.
No, you automatically fail if you
automatically
don't have any
fail.
dice.
But like outside of like the mechanics of the game, like narratively, what happens to your, like, if for example in 5th edition, if your charisma goes to 0, you just become a blithering idiot.
Yeah.
You have no concept of reality. You have absolutely no character whatsoever. You're just, completely, you belong in an asylum.
Sure, you're talking about a condition, basically.
Right.
What is the condition you pick
what
up?
Yeah, what happens? I feel like I don't know if there is a condition. I would expect there to be one.
Yeah.
Encumbrance is the number of weight you can have. You can carry a total of 5 weight. That's an interesting choice, that your weight is not affected by your strength as it is in most games.
Yeah.
I agree with this choice, though.
It's a beer and pretzels.
It's beer and pretzels, yeah. Well, not only that, but, like, unless you're just an absolute bruiser, you're not going to be able to carry that much more than any other typical person. Like, I'm a closet gym nerd, and
I wonder if I'm the only one on now or if Baron's the only one on now. Stay tuned.
let's see here. Are we back?
I'm here.
Entire screen. Share. I love technical difficulties.
Yeah, they're great. Just out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere. All right. So, let's see. Close that. Quit Discord. Get rid of that. All right. So, is everybody... Okay. We should be streaming. Everybody can see the document. Looking big. Okay, awesome. So we're back at unis. I like that this is pronounced here. I think I lost the stream right when I was about to say that
you're a gym nerd or something, right? Oh, that's
Oh,
when I dropped off. You were in the middle of gym
so
nerd.
we were talking about encumbrance. Yeah, like
Yes.
so what I was saying, I guess, and there must be a delay. It must be like 20, 30 seconds. Anyway, what I was saying is like even though I am somewhat of a gym nerd, you know, I find myself to be a pretty strong guy, but I would not be carrying a 60-pound backpack around downtown Rook City, or more than a 60-pound backpack. So having a total of 5 weight is completely understandable. And
Yeah.
I think that's also like a good narrative reinforcing term for the pack rat trait we saw earlier, that it's pack rat. Like you've just got random
Yeah.
crap in your pockets. It's
Sure.
not that
Sure.
it's not that you're stronger. So anyway,
Right.
yeah, credits are unis. I feel like using a U is understandable, but man, it would be cool if you could get a custom typeface or
True.
like a custom character that has
Agreed.
like two slashes in the U.
That would
Yeah.
be cool.
Yeah. Let's see. Haggling. Whenever buying and selling an item, you choose haggling can only be attempted once with a single individual. Slaying soul, if successful, the price is doubled or halved. That's interesting. I wonder why it's not a contest.
Huh.
I wonder why it's not a contest.
Yeah.
Somebody's got doggos.
Yeah. Sure do.
Yep. Okay. Let's see here. Whenever a character takes damage, there's a chance to ignore it or soak. So, did we see how combat is done? Did I miss that? And I guess unless it's a contest.
I think we haven't gotten there yet. Yeah, it's a few pages beyond
Yeah,
this.
okay.
Yeah.
So that would be something that I would want to see moved ahead of soaking, because I'm going to do or how do I make a combat check and then show me how soaking damage works.
Right. That's right. Yeah.
And I would like to see it like on the same page.
Sure.
Or on like maybe this just needs to be moved to elsewhere in the PDF, and artwork needs to be put here to preserve that. I don't know exactly. I'm not trying to be art director, but I feel like this needs to come after the after combat. So anyway, pending on how we understand combat, damage is always delivered as one of 3 types. I like that there's types.
That is cool.
Ballistic energy and shock. So armor is able to protect against ballistic or energy damage. Shock is allocated to all other types of miscellaneous damage. Heights, fire, electrocution, mental, or cyber. Interesting. So ballistic is like extremely fast moving projectiles, guns. Energy is lasers, maybe psionic damage as well. Well, would it be psionic? No, because shock would be pyrokinetic, or falling from heights would be telekinetic. So yeah. So it'd be interesting to see what energy covers. Whenever damage is received, the victim must sling body, and if wearing any armor of the corresponding damage type, they may apply that armor's weight as bonus dice. That's cool. So you can be more burly the heavier your armor is.
But then you can't carry other stuff.
But you can't carry other stuff.
Yeah. It's pretty elegant and simple. It's
yes.
simple. Yeah.
I like that. It reminds me of what is it? There's a whole ecosystem of like odd-like games and Knave, like the coalescence of Chris McDowell's Into the Odd and Ben Milton's Knave. They have like, you can only have so many items in your inventory, and heavier armor takes up more inventory slots.
Yeah, like I'm thinking of Mouse Ritter. It has this really great physical.
That's one of the games in that ecosystem.
Okay,
like Mouse Ritter, Cairn, Liminal Horror.
Yeah.
What else is in there? There's a bunch of others. In fact, there is a Cyberpunk version.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So maybe we could troll Wylock and pull that one up as well. So wounds are tracked by using the boxes on the character sheet. If an amount of damage is taken in excess of the character's remaining wounds, they go into the dying condition. So how many wounds do you get? That's what I want to know.
Equal to your body, wasn't it?
Is
it was a simple and direct relation, I think.
If you begin any turn in the dying condition, then you suffer one or more wounds in that turn, you are dead. So you get the Call of Duty gray screen.
Mm-hmm.
So encumbrance is your units. You may carry a total of 5. Ooh, we got it twice.
Ah,
Ah, currency. We got it again. Markets. Hundreds of markets. All items have corresponding value. Goods can be bought and sold. And sold for half that. That's generous. I've always done like the pawn shop 10%.
10%, right?
Yeah, oh yeah. You got a 100 gold sword? I'll give you like a Pawn Stars, you know.
Best I can do is 10,
The
10
best I can
gold.
do is 10 gold. I mean, they got to make a profit. Whenever you're buying or selling an item, you can choose to attempt to work the price. So here's the haggling again. If failed, the price is halved. If succeed, the price is doubled. Oh, that's for selling stuff. Buying or selling. I think the language is a little weird here. I get it, but the language is weird.
This is another one. This is one of those paragraphs where, like, if they were bulleted, it'd be easier to swallow.
Yeah. Haggling is attempted as many times as you like between downtimes. Oh, so you can multiple attempt until you fail an attempt. Okay. During the downtime. I'm surprised haggling a skill or a trait rather? Did we skim past one?
No, anybody can haggle.
Well, I'm like, can you get better at haggling? I'm gonna scroll back up and make everybody in the thing sick. Let's see, H hobby
Page 30.
haggling.
Haggle.
When you sling to haggle the price of a transaction, you apply your soul score as a bonus. So what does that mean? You know, what is soul score as a bonus? Does that mean number of bonus dice to the sling? I don't know. I'd like to see that language tightened. Anyway. Did I zip past here? Okay.
Here we are.
Okay, here we are. So communication is the semi-digital world much freer, but also is far more dangerous. Yup. Let's see. Hashes. A hash is a simple piece of digital information stored mentally, such as an address. So basically any key value relationship. It is different from a memory in that it resides reliably in the synthetic portion of your mind, much like files on a hard drive. That's interesting. A hash can be transmitted freely and instantly between any infused individuals that are approximately 30 meters of one another currently, or who are currently engram networked. That's interesting. Like I can just send you a text message to your brain if you're in 30 meters.
Well, with the engrams, if we encode network with each other, we can just straight up talk to each other. You talk out loud and wherever you are in the world.
Right. You can hear me.
You can just hear me. Yeah. And I can even show you my eye, what I'm seeing.
Right. I'm trying to think through, like, this is really interesting. I'm trying to think through, like, what are the ramifications of that? And like, can I push hashes into other people's stored memory? Like, does it have to be willing? Can I force something in there? Like, you know, if I'm in
there's two kinds of hacking. There's the dive,
okay,
but there's also the hijack. The hijack is for more what you're talking about, where you can,
right,
you know, attack somebody or force a data on someone or something like that.
Okay. One of two states, encrypted or decrypted. Encrypted is hash is not. The information is scrambled and requires expertise to decode. Decryption can only be performed on Omni level 3 or deeper. This is interesting. I'm going to make a note on a post-it note to come back and talk about decryption when we see more about it later. Decryption. My pencil is not working. There we go. Decryption. Okay, I've got a note. Engrams. An engram is a hash that cannot be encrypted. It is a unique personal identifier on the Omni. Think of it like so it is my SSID. You can share your engram with anyone you like by sending it to them in a hash. When you provide their engram to someone, they become an engram network to you. From that point onward, you can trade information with that person just as easily as you were wearing headsets or using radios. They can also know your location at all times, akin to GPS. It is a common practice to trade engrams to allow two-way communication. Anyone you're supplied with your engram, you've supplied with, is that a typo? Can easily forward it with or without your knowing. So make sure you vet out anyone in the network. You may resalt your engram during downtime. If and when you do, everyone who had it instantly loses your connection. Interesting.
Yeah, I kind of liked this.
Yeah.
It's just a different way to skin the cat. That it's the same cat that's being skinned in every one of these Cyberpunk games, but this one was sort
Right.
of unique. I liked it.
Yeah, I really do appreciate the very novel take on how the internet will work in the future.
Mm-hmm.
I really appreciate that
Mm-hmm.
because everybody just says, "Oh, it's mobile phones in your brain,"
Mm-hmm.
But this goes through and points out a few key things
Mm-hmm.
that makes it interesting.
Yeah.
Conversation and engram network can speak to each other regardless of a distance, as if they were using a radio headset. So you're like those guys in the restaurant that wear the Bluetooth headsets, and you think that they're talking to you, and then they just turn around and continue their conversation.
They never know what to do with their eyes, by the way.
I know. Like, look down.
Yeah. In shame.
Yeah, exactly. Firefights. Okay, so now we're getting into combat. Let's see. Are there rules here during the first round? The end. But that order must be adhered to. Turns whenever. Hold on. The admin controls the turns of all the non-player combatants. And turn progresses clockwise around the table. I understand initiative being a thing, but having turns that just progress clockwise around the table is so much easier.
Yeah. That's how Index Card RPG does it, and I do appreciate that.
Yeah, and like if you want to have somebody that like roll initiative to see where it starts, that's fine. But this is so much easier, especially in like early editions of D&D. The party rolled a d6, like just the party captain, like one person rolled a d6, and that decided whether the party went first or the monsters went first. And I also really appreciated that. Of course, then I also like 5th edition, even though as much as I bash it, I just get a lot of I have a love-hate relationship with 5th edition.
Yeah.
Let's see, because I like how wargamey it is. During the first round, the admin can interject each of the non-player combatants' turns whenever they like, as long as the round progresses, but that order must be adhered to for the remainder of the firefight. Wait, what? During the first round, the admin can interject each of the non-player combatants' turns wherever they like as the round progresses, but the order must be adhered to for the remainder of the firefight. That's cool, but complicated. It is helpful for the admin to keep a simple list. Yep. Absolute positioning and ranges are not relevant. The hectic course of the firefight, it is assumed that there will be constant motion and frenetic crossfire. So you declare a maneuver and an action. Here we go. Scramble. Dart about the field in combat and stay in motion. This is the default maneuver. So this is one of those situations where I like and dislike this at the same time, calling it scramble. Like, why? Like, what if I'm just? Why is it scramble? Why is it not charge or whatever it is? Or scramble is in my mind indicates a very specific kind of activity on the battlefield that might be the kind of thing that Wylock is trying to say would happen in a cyberpunk setting. Like, everybody's just going to dart about shooting at each other. But scramble as a verb might not be the right verb for what my character would do in combat.
That's true. It is a bit more specific. It doesn't seem like a default move.
Right. Like, so that would be my one complaint with that vocabulary choice. But outside of that, it's fine. So no mechanical rules or impacts. Hold, get a +2 bonus to any attack rolls you made this turn. Until the beginning of your next turn, anyone making attack rolls against you also gets a +2 bonus to their attack rolls. duck out of sight from behind an environmental feature. You may not take the attack or hijack actions this turn, and no one may attempt to any ranged attacks or hijacks against you until your next turn. Behind an environmental feature. Okay. Protect. That's behind an environmental feature. I want to see more rules about terrain coming up. I hope I see more rules about terrain. Protect, provide cover for someone. Is hit by an attack, that hit is instead assigned to you, and you must attempt to soak the damage instead. Flee. No action this turn. All attacks made against you are at a negative 2D penalty. As long as you're not dying, you permanently remove from round order with a narrative reason to have hidden and escaped. Can no longer engage with you in any way. That's a very narrative way of handling the withdrawal.
I think a lot of this is very narrative.
It's it's very narrative heavy.
Yeah. But that's kind of keeping with the intent of the game.
Yes. Oh, for sure. Yeah. And it's cohesive in that way.
Yeah.
You know? Actions, attack, fire your chain, whatever. Boost up. Ooh, consume a booster. Boost up. Hijack. Perform a hijack. Ad hoc. Perform an ad hoc action. Attack. Let's see here. If attempting a melee or you must have performed. If attempting a melee or unarmed attack, you must have performed the hold maneuver. So this is another one of those weird vocabulary choice things that I find are like, I understand that hold has a specific definition within this game, but hold also might have a very different definition within the mind of the people playing the game. You know, I just keep on thinking of like the beer and pretzels player. Like, why would I charge? Like, let's say I'm, Cyber Ninja Girl, and I charge with my double katanas and my kicking daggers on my feet. So I have to run up to you to make the attack. Then I attack. Can I do that? Can I not run up to you and attack? Because it says the maneuver is called hold. So that's just a very confusing thing.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. I don't understand the action economy on running up and then attacking. Exactly.
Choose a target and then sling body is referred to as an attack roll. Many things will apply bonuses to the... Oh, okay, so this was a change. I remember, and I talked to Wylock at JeffCon about this. It used to be that it was just your weapon skill plus 2 dice. And I said it feels really weird that you're not using a pillar because it's so different from everything else in the game. Everything else is cohesively using a pillar. So he's decided to add body here to make an attack roll. Many things will apply bonuses to the attack roll. As always, it is the responsibility of the players to apply any traits. Yes, players, keep up with your stuff. That's your responsibility. I don't want to babysit you. If you don't add the bonuses, that's not my problem.
Yeah.
Let's see. If your attack roll is successful, the victim must attempt to soak the damage as described earlier. Decrease your ammo by 1 regardless of success. I want the soak damage stuff to go right here. That's where I want it to go. Let's see here. After combat, when one side has been neutralized, the fighting stops. It can be assumed that the fighters, anyone who is in the dying condition immediately recovers 1 wound if desired. Oh, because you might not desire it, you might want to see if you become awakened. So this is the legit artwork that will be used in the book. I love it.
Yeah, it's
hacking. Okay, hacking is a way of life. Yes, it is. Watch Mr. Robot? Yeah. Let's see. Hijacks are quick and relatively simple tasks, which can only be performed on targets within about 30-meter radius for which the hacker has a clear line of sight. When the firefight or other structured period of the time is... Okay, so this is... what is it? It's not engram. What was the thing called up here? Is it here? Encryption, engram. There was a 30-foot hashes. Yeah, in the distance that a hash can be transmitted, you can also hijack something.
Right. That's right.
Yep. Let's see here. So dives are lengthy, complex evolutions on the OmniNet that can leave you vulnerable in real space but open up the entire world to you. It's a digital smash and grab during a dive. Let's see, a full exploration of the default setting of Neon Skies can be found the Rook City chapter. The OmniNet has 6 virtual levels. The term dive in the context of hacking means that you descend to a lower level and attempt to find or do something there. The swirling code that makes up the lower levels is very infrastructure is constantly probing at foreign agents such as you, trying to decrypt and eradicate them. So here we go, a whole page about dives. So we have level 0, the world net, a safe place where you're anonymity. I can never pronounce that word. Your anonymity, there we go, and
There you
safety
go.
are almost guaranteed. You can see the other millions of. So what is this like? You are on the MMO. Is that like
Yeah,
this? Is that what
yeah.
that is? Yeah. And then the undernet, the chaos crystallize, and you begin to see the structure of the network. However, nothing is stored here. The undernet essentially serves as a gateway. So this is somehow being able to see the HTTP transmissions flowing through your Cat6 cables. Then SecNet, super user access. Sudo do, let's see, super user accesses most public networks can be found here, including password protected profiles such as social media, banking, email, etc. Darknet, this is where people go to converse when meetings in the physical world is not possible or desirable. There's also virtual infrastructure for the commerce of illicit goods and services. This is really interesting because generally, like in Mr. Robot, by the way, does a very good job. Like Mr. Robot is like, as for people who haven't watched it, is an absolutely phenomenal dive into dramatized hacking culture, like gray hat hacking culture. And
How many
also,
seasons did that go?
was it 4, 3, something like that? I
I
can't
think I
remember.
only watched the first 2 seasons.
But that's this is a really interesting. Mr. Robot does a really good job of demonstrating this and like why you go to the dark net to make contact, but you only go to the dark net to make contact so that you can meet in person, because everything on the internet is hackable, right? So you never want to talk on the internet. Let's see here. Backdoors to corporate servers live here. Those David seeking to disrupt Goliaths come here to do so. So let's see here. When meeting the physical world is not possible or desirable, there's also virtual infrastructure for commerce of illicit goods and services. So this is interesting because how do you do the infrastructure for the commerce is on level 3. Oh, no, the back doors for this stuff is on level 3. No, corporate servers. Level 4 is how you access the stuff that is password protected effectively or encrypted in the SecNet. And then Milnet is,
I mean,
deep state.
I don't think it's that.
Edwards.
I don't think that Wylock was trying to interconnect these. So
Sure. Well, the way diving works, if I remember, you have to go down through the levels. So I'm just trying to picture I'm just crystallizing what's going on in my mind. Like I'm just thinking through it. So eyes only, world altering information. So if you expose this information, you will have mass police officers in your apartment the moment you hit enter on the keyboard. Let's see here. Moving on the OmniNet, when you commence a dive, some structures immediately take place, and progress occurs in turns, exactly as a firefight. First, the admin will determine what the OmniNet level your destination information is stored in. Then on each of your turns, you may either descend a level or bail to move up a level. At the end of your turn, admin rolls a d6 plus OmniNet level to determine what happens. Completing the dive when you begin your turn. So then you just bail out back to 0. Diving during a fight. If a firefight is currently in progress, you can be in the midst of an OmniNet dive on your turn. Simply treat your turn as your turn in combat. In other words, instead of performing a maneuver and an action, you instead perform a dive, bail, or harvest. Upon arriving at level 0, anyone currently in the dying condition recovers a wound. Okay. Oh, so it's like the Matrix. You can die on the OmniNet.
Yeah,
Because
sure.
if you die in the Matrix, you die in real life.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Group hacks. So people can group hack. So what's going on here? Consequence per level. Do loop. Sling cyber, and if failed, you are immediately bailed upward 1 level. Okay. Firewall. If you failed, you take a wound. Decryption. If you failed, you gained a random malice. So this is really interesting and shows how like interconnected people who are what was the word? There was a word for it. People who have drank the Kool-Aid. What is, do you remember
Oh,
the word?
I don't know if there was a term for it, but most of the population. I guess that was 100 years ago. So I think the idea is that just the vast majority of the population has, in fact,
Right.
drank the Kool-Aid at this
Drank the
point.
Kool-Aid. But like it is now so much the very fabric of who you are that getting messed up in the OmniNet has physical ramifications. Like it's
Sure.
not, there is no problem exists between keyboard and mouse. You are the keyboard.
Well, I mean,
You know? Yeah.
the consequence table here is a simplification of something that you see in the Cyberpunk RPG,
For
in the
sure.
80s. You see it all the time. You see levels and you see enemies, cybernetic enemies
Right.
within there. But what you don't see in this game is a description of the ICE, a description of the anti-hacking defense measures. You're
Right.
just being told the consequence of failing a roll.
Right.
You're supposed to, I guess, as the GM, you're just supposed to make up those details. And actually, that was a point I wanted to make.
Oh yeah,
that
I'll go
it's
back
so
to that page.
simple. No, yeah.
Yeah.
This game is so simplified that it actually puts a burden on the GM and the players to have some Cyberpunk under their belt already. Because if they don't, then they don't know what this means. That you'd have to really describe to them, countermeasures and things like that in a cybernetic world.
That's a really interesting point.
So yeah,
Of course, my question is would somebody want to play a Cyberpunk game if they weren't already aware of Cyberpunk?
yeah. I mean, I personally, even if they wanted to, I would be hesitant to play with them if they're not acquainted with the genre.
Yeah.
If it was this game.
If you have not seen the movies, like what would be the 3 movies you would say are required to watch? Like,
I mean, obviously, The Matrix is a great one. I mean, look at the background for this page. That's the Matrix.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like The Matrix, Blade Runner, and maybe Ex Machina.
Yeah, they have to have an understanding of the hostility of of being in the cyber world.
Exactly. Let's see here. So hijacks follow 2 abilities that are available for characters who are infused. Luddites are that's an interesting term.
Yeah,
because
that's the first time I see that.
Book. This needs to be. I don't know if it was in the lore that we scrolled past.
I don't remember seeing that word before.
I don't want to do a Control F and lose my page, but that's a really interesting, in fiction word that immediately jumps out to me as there could be like some serious
resistance cells,
resistance cells, or even like bigotry between what were infused and Luddites.
Yeah,
it was infused in Luddites. Yeah. Like Luddite obviously has such a terribly negative connotation to it as a word choice, and that's really interesting. I like that.
Yeah.
Character may attempt to hijack any target within approximately 30 meters they can see. And like just thinking about that, like if you are, if you're like some sort of crime syndicate and you're trying to shake down some people and you're sending a crack team to go bust kneecaps, you're going to want to send 1 or 2 bruisers that are Luddites in to go with them to make sure that at least 2 people don't get hijacked.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a really cool idea.
Yeah.
You're right.
A character may attempt to hijack on any target within an approximately 30 meters people can see during a firefight. To execute a hijack. So, Spike. Choose a person. If you win, the victim must try and soak shock damage equal to the mind score. So, this is a way to, if you win, equal to your mind score. So, the maximum mind can be 5. So you roll a body score, and then you also add your weapon score. So if my body is 5, and I have a 2 in
Execute a
small
hijack.
guns,
To execute a hijack, perform a cyber contest.
perform a cyber. So first I roll cyber, then my mind score is the damage they have to soak. I'm just thinking through, like, is that fair? Like, does that balance with weapon damage? Really? Because then they get, like, I add skills, or I add my trait dice for the weapon on top of body, and then they soak with armor. But there is no armor to soak here, so yes, that's fair.
Okay.
That's balanced. Okay. I was like, it just immediately jumped off to the page at me that this might have been, another opportunity for min-maxing.
One thing that I thought you could do with a hijack that you mentioned earlier, but it looks like you can't, is putting a hash into someone's head.
Yes.
Apparently, you can just attack them with a spike or toggle, which is like hacking a device.
A device, yeah. Okay. And then you get very specific things. That might be fun to... Well, that's what's interesting, is a person's physical storage. Is their physical hard drive brain? Is that a device? I'd like clarity on that.
It doesn't seem that way from that list right there. Residential, public grade. I don't know. It would be fun to have that, though, to have the ability to do more than just attack a person.
Wylock said, read above. I'm not sure exactly in what context.
At the top paragraph.
Let's see here. Following 2 abilities are... I don't know. I can't remember. There's a delay, so I lose context whenever somebody in the chat says something. And I'm only barely paying attention to the chat right now. Let's see here. In addition to traits, biographs and others raid other aids that could help you sling code and adjust your rolls for the better while hacking. Ooh, so we can break his rule. There are also ciphers that are consumable as one-time use programs, and you track them on your character sheet. Ciphers are deployed as described in their effect. Narratively, they are stored as virtual code slabs somewhere in your brain. Total ciphers is currently stored as cannot exceed your cyber score. All ciphers have a value of 3 unis. Jargon and role-playing. Hack Gibson, hack the planet.
Yeah, that jargon and role-playing thing, that goes back to what I was saying. You really want to have well-versed players and GMs at the table, because you have to backfill a lot of this detail. So if you have
right.
Yeah, if you have players who just know their stuff, they can make the game a lot
for sure. Yeah, 100%. So then, target is also unaware of who is hijacking from. Hash cover. Yeah, I love how fun these are. Trace route. Yeah, I have a nephew that, like, I'm not gonna say that I am remotely skilled at white hat security, but what little skill I have, I was showing to my nephew while he was visiting from Germany a few months ago, and he was just all of the terminology. This is all very, very fun to see all that. Yeah, it's close, but it's not the same. I love it.
Yeah, I like the terminology here. Yeah, for sure.
It's a good head nod to what actually is happening in the real world. Vehicle chases. Okay. This was something in the playtest. I just did like a random, go get the MacGuffin and then car chase back. and I really wanted the chase mechanics to work. And they were really confusing in the first iteration of the playtest that I tried. So let's see what happens here. I hope this is cleaned up. When a chase is initiated in narrative, a turn structure immediately forms. First, establish who is the driver of each vehicle. All other occupants are passengers. The driver of each car is responsible for tracking the car structure. A car has 5 structure points. When a chase commences, first all of the drivers select their maneuvers. Okay, so we get an indicator saying how many structure a car has, but I don't recall, and I could have blown past it. I don't recall seeing how many wounds a character gets. And sure, it's on the character sheet, but what if I don't have a printer? And I mean, I guess I can. Maybe I'm just making a mountain out of a molehill. I just want to know.
I don't know, Baron. I think you're going to have a character sheet to play this game.
Yeah, fair point. Fair point. I just remember like being in middle school and having an AD&D second edition character on a piece of notebook paper.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's how I started. I started without strategies.
Okay, so after all passengers have had their turns, a new round begins. Drivers select and reveal their maneuvers, and the passengers act in the same order as was established in the first round, exactly as in a firefight. So I love that this is or at least it's trying to be a rock paper scissors Rochambeau type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very cavalry, artillery, infantry of Napoleonic warfare. So all drivers secretly select a maneuver using a die and cover it with their hand. So floor it beats swerve but loses to ram. Ram beats floor it and loses to swerve, and swerve beats ram and loses to floor it. Absolutely love this.
Yeah.
All drivers check their selections of their enemies. If a driver lost to any vehicles, their car loses 1 structure point for each loss. Bikes. Any sort of small single-person transport is referred to as a bike. Firing upon a bike itself is handled exactly as above for a car, except that the bike only has 2 structure, and the driver may also perform a passenger action. Anyone who is not a driver is a passenger. Light them up. Fire a ranged weapon at any enemy vehicle. If it hits, the driver performs a soak roll for the vehicle using the following guidance. Okay. So big, large trucks and whatever have, like if I'm driving a monster truck or a bulldozer, I have 8 soak dice, right?
Yeah.
Armored vehicles. So, if I've got bulletproof glass on my Mafia Ford Escalade, I've got 6 soak. Let's see here. You can consume 1 booster. So, yeah, totally normal. Okay, so I'm trying to think through this here, concluding a car chase. If at any moment a vehicle has 0 or less structure, immediately roll a D2. Yeah, this is a weird vernacular thing. If the result is a 1, it immediately disabled and rapidly comes to a D2. Oh, you mean like flip a coin? I was just so used to seeing soak, I didn't understand what you meant. Okay, or not soak, sling. Excuse me. If the result is a 1, immediately disabled and rapidly come to a stop. If the result is a 2, it explodes and deals 2 wounds to the driver and all passengers. That's fun.
Yeah, that's extreme, but
yeah, it's super extreme.
Yeah,
but it's also Cyberpunk, so
yeah.
like it's got to be flashy.
Yeah.
Either way, it quickly falls out of view and is no longer part of the chase. If it was the aggressor, the car being chased is now able to escape. If any driver performs the floor it maneuver 3 times in a row, they immediately escape. So, and what does floor it lose to? Floor it loses to ram. Okay. So yeah, if you just go straight down the highway, somebody can pit you. You can
so was this an improvement on?
So let me think through this. So let's do just a thought experiment here. If you choose floor it, I choose ram, and I tap you on the back, and you slam into the side of a building, and accelerate again. then you lose. If a driver okay, all drivers check their selections. If a driver lost to any enemy vehicles, their car loses 1 structure point for each such loss. So, and then ram loses to swerve. Maybe you hit, a Jersey barrier or something in the narrative. Swerve loses to floor it. Same thing. I think this is clear.
It's a pretty straightforward mini game, I think.
Yeah. And
But,
yeah. I think this is clear.
You choose and I choose, and then we reveal at the same time.
We
And then
reveal at the same time. If I lost, somebody loses the car that loses gets banged up a little, and then all the other passengers are able to do stuff. This is much tighter.
But yeah, it's always against. I guess you can do like 5 or 6 cars at the same time, right? Everybody chooses their own maneuver, and they all reveal it at the same time, and they all either. Well, hold on. Yeah, I mean,
it's just the drivers that do it. Yeah.
Oh, just the driver does it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the passengers are free to hang out the side of the armored car and shoot their Uzis at you. Yeah, this is. Oh man, this is really cleaned up and tight now.
But it's only ever 2 vehicles against each other at any given point.
Oh yeah. So okay. So let's think through that. So if I choose.
So let's say if 3 enemies are chasing you in 3 different cars and you're in 1 car,
right?
To resolve the maneuvers, you have to resolve them one at a time, 1 pair at a time, right?
Okay. So if I'm flooring it, and the 3 other cars
are ramming,
let's make it the most complicated version. If each
car
is doing one of the 3 different things, the only maneuver that I'm going to lose to if I'm flooring it is ram. The other 2 don't affect me. So they're just kind of jockeying for position on the highway.
So you can actually resolve this. You can resolve this quick. You can resolve multi-car encounters simultaneously
very quickly.
Yeah.
Oh, now where this breaks down is if I have 2 cars that are party cars. If the party is operating 2 vehicles, like one of them is on a crotch rocket and the other's in a sports car.
But you don't have to. Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying.
Then do I have to declare which? So there needs to be one more thing added to this for clarity, in that I need to know before the reveal, as the admin, I need to know if there are multiple vehicles operated by the party.
Yeah.
People have to tell, like, if the party is chasing 2 vehicles, I have to know which vehicle their maneuver is relating to.
Exactly. I mean, this is actually kind of where some little miniatures would be helpful, just for grouping up and pairing off.
Gosh, this is so cool of an idea. I want it to work so bad. Oh, this is so good. I love this.
It's pretty good.
Rochambeau, yeah.
I do like these simple mini games that get installed inside of games. I love
it. Absolutely. Okay, so anyway, enough harping on that. I think we've beaten that dead Omninet horse. Okay. Traversing is a dangerous place. Do nothing, get a table B. Transportation costs are not explicitly tracked and are absolutely rolled. So it looks like this is for Stalker. All miscellaneous damage is a shock type. Well executed. One group notices discarded random booster lying around. So this is just really weird. Like, we just go straight into traversing. When the player characters decide to travel from one section of the city to another, roll on some tables. Nothing bad happens. Something happens. 1d3+1 punk ambush. So I need like a section that says this is now Dungeon Master. This is now admin section, And
that's true. This is kind of an admin thing. Also, this has some like hex crawl sort of feel to it.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's
Let's see. Incidental damage as a stalker, as stated earlier, all miscellaneous damage is of the shock type. Beware some examples to determine. Okay, amount of damage. So that's just interesting. Then we get what you can do in downtime. Spend 50 unis for living expenses. So you constantly are spending money in downtime. And
That's right.
if they do one of the following, and what is it? The following things occur in any order: resalt your engram, reset haggling, downtime actions. Oh, I would call this out in the haggling section because it
Yeah, I
specifically
noticed that.
says,
Yeah.
yeah, it would specifically says I would add one sentence in the haggling section to that way it's a circular reference
Yeah.
between
Yeah.
the two.
Agreed.
Yeah. Odd
All right.
jobs gain
Hey,
100
keep
unis.
going. I'll be right back.
Okay. Let's see here. So, oh, now I'm lonely. Dave is gone. So, chat, how are you all doing? Is everyone doing good? Is the stream quality good? We had that drop earlier. Let's see here. Street dock, code, party, hunker down and code. Find a local dive or rave, party up and make some contacts. Overhear a thing or two. Befriend. I like that all of this stuff happens during downtime. I like that there is much more to having downtime. It's almost very Traveler inspired, it feels like to me, if you've played Traveler, because you're taking week-long jumps at a time through space. So what are your characters doing on the spaceship in that game, right? Like they are they have these all this time you're in space for a week. So that's how you level up effectively in the Traveler game. You advance your skills by practicing on the spaceship. So, but with this, like, there's just so much more you can do. I love it. What's interesting is scavenging. It'll be really interesting. I would want to see, gosh, I would want to see like what each like different player groups with different play styles are going to be using very different kinds of stuff or very different activities in this game. Let's see here. Development. Gain 1 XP point toward, yep. Survive. I love the artwork. Where's Dave? Okay, so now we get into equipment. Is Dave back?
Yep.
Hey, okay. I was just talking about downtime and how I love that there's just all the kinds of narrative stuff you can do in fiction during downtime rather than just, I take a long rest, I eat rations, and I get my HP and spell levels back, or my spell points back.
Right.
There's so much more.
Yeah.
And I was making the comparison to Traveler RPG, where you level your ability or your skills. Is that what they're called? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. Boosters, single-use consumables. Let's see here. Morphine, bump. Whenever you sling body, apply an additional plus 40 bonus. 40? Oh, man.
Yeah, these are huge, and so are the what were those? The ciphers. Those were huge too, and those are all one use.
So, when is it just the one time? Is it whenever you sling body, apply or would apply your body as a dice bonus plus 4? Is that just like one and done?
Yeah,
Is it over?
Single use.
Single use, one and done. Next time you do it, so you just pop the drugs in your nose, and you get I'm probably just gotten demonetized for saying that. Thanks, Google. Let's see here. Plus 4 bonus. That is massive, and it's only $100. 100 unis.
These are way cheaper than the ciphers.
Yeah, it's cheaper than the ciphers, but also like you get 100 unis just doing some stuff. Like on your downtime, you effectively can get one of these for free.
Yeah, and I'm sure
as long
that's
as you're doing.
I'm sure that's intentional to keep the game, high
Yeah.
octane, fun, keep the
Right, right, right,
players
right,
happy.
right. That's wild. Because that means like if you've got, the bio, like if you've got a character type that's like, the 350-pound, 6'8", megalith of a bruiser man who rips a parking meter out of the ground to attack you with it,
Yeah.
and he's got like all the bio enhancements to do it. Uh, Wylock just said, also don't forget when the booster wears off, there's a consequence, and it's a
Mm.
huge deal. Okay, so I will look for that. Um,
Oh, at the end, the last sentence there.
oh, the last sentence, but it's like throwing an additional 4 onto that for while you've got that +4 bonus while you're smacking people with a freaking galvanized pipe.
Yeah.
You know, and so using boosters has the potential to cause side effects or addictions. When the effects of a booster wears off, sling stability, and if failed, you gain a random malice. Okay.
Right. And so,
Yeah.
like I mentioned before, malice has come up a lot, and they're brutal.
Yeah, for sure. See, weapons are only treated by their type, not an individual model name. I love that. I can't stand when RPGs are getting into the
Like
nitty gritty
6
of like
pages of rifles.
17
Yeah.
different assault rifles.
Yeah.
Just give me an assault rifle.
Yep.
If it needs to be like a high level prototype thing, just give it a +1 bonus or something.
Right.
Yeah. So this vagueness is intentional on the following pages. Let's see here. Like, are there differences between an M16 and an AK-47? Yes. Do they matter in the long run in a game? Probably not.
No.
Weapon ammunition, so bullets, shells, capacitors, and explosives. Okay, so only 100. Whew, so for a downtime job, I can get. I mean, you know, what I know about the real world. Like you can in Central Africa, you can get a 1970s Soviet era grenade on the black market for 5 USD. So okay, I'm okay with 100. I just that also says to me that for every downtime action, because now the downtime action is, now that I've seen that, that's 100 unis. For a downtime action, I get a rocket propelled grenade. That's what that means.
Yeah. I mean, you can and forego
Yeah,
other things.
and forego other things, sure, but like and I still haven't seen how rocket propelled grenades work. Like, does
Yeah.
it target a area? I guess we'll get there. So we got pistols, action rifles. What is that? Precision weapon can optionally be. Oh, so over and I had one too many beers, but over beers at Jeff Con, we talked about, like, I feel like you should optionally have, like, use body or use one of the stats.
Yeah.
Or what are they, the pillars? Use one of the pillars, but certain weapons should be precise enough to where you can swap in your body. So
Yeah.
I'm flattered you took my advice. I'm flattered. I'm flattered to see that in here. That's cool. Wylock. Yeah, it was about the 4th beer. That's for sure. I think I might have had 5 that evening because I went downstairs and played another game with Hank and Fernell. And man, those guys drink. I mean, I drink, but man. Anyway, moving on here. So we got assault rifles, shotguns, lasers are precision weapons. Unarmed is precision weapons. That's cool. So you can be a big brawler, or you can be, the
Martial artist.
martial artist, dark ninja girl.
Yeah.
I always love that archetype, just like bouncing off the walls, throwing shurikens,
Mm-hmm.
Purple. Oh, I hope there's cloak armor that like refracts light around you or something.
Sure.
Okay, so we got Patriotech Magnum pistols. These are just fun names, I guess. Shotguns, riot controller, unless the weapons have different abilities. So flamethrower, bazooka, Avenger WX8, Coulomb ablation tool. Is that like a mining tool? Fusion. Star Simmed curved rail. Heat thrower. Tridial focuser. Is it? I want to see pictures. I want to see drawings of these weapons. I want to know how they work. If I had an exploded diagram, I'd get it. So katana, baseball bat, crowbar, or plasma knife and power glove. Love it. Oh. So we got different ballistic or energy. Okay. And then we've got value up here, ammo, the different types of damage that they do. Okay. And then you add +1d bonus to your hack roll. Yeah, that's cool. See, it's an action rifle like you see in the action movies, Lilac says. Okay, so you may wear any number of pieces of armor provided. Okay, so this is like the first time that I think I will see something that is actually crunchy. So a piece of armor can protect against either ballistic or energy damage, and the weight ranging from 1 to 3. When you receive damage matching that type, you add the bonus. So you can wear like a leather jacket, and that might have crap for ballistic, but it might have great for energy, I assume. That's the only crunchy thing I've seen so far, but I love it. A little crunch goes a long way. I feel like and it reflects the system really. It reflects the genre well.
Mm-hmm.
So any mundane items count as junk. A metal cylinder or leather strap, a Gar's gear shift has weight of 0 and worth 0 credits. It is acceptable to write junk. Junk is often used as a raw material to perform tasks in the game. So I like that junk exists, because that means like I might say like I don't have my thieves tools with me or my lockpick set, but I'm gonna remove junk and bend some hairpins and turn them into a lockpicking tool. Now I don't have junk anymore. There's another RPG that's similar to that called or that has a kind of a similar mechanic called 5 Torches Deep, where your intelligence bonus, it's a D&D like system. It's like if OSR was 5th edition, but your intelligence bonus is used to just pull crap out of your back pocket.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I've got this thing I need. And you can do that a number of times a day or between rests equal to your intelligence bonus.
That's
so
nice.
Wizards actually get something cool because of that, because they have a high intelligence, right? But they're the ones who thought ahead and brought all the things that you were going to need anyway.
Right.
So, okay.
It really
so now
greases the wheels.
Exactly. So, ballistic, trench coat, trash can lid, Kevlar, trash can lid. I love it. Tactical gear, different energy weights, Iron Man's chest thing. Yeah, this is it's fun to watch this stuff come together. Cellophane trench coat. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's such a good like visual. Like the android ninja girl with a cellophane trench coat to protect her from energy blasts.
Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that just screams Blade Runner 2077. Okay. Special equipment, trank darts, unit crackers, a small one-time use magna card that can be used to unlock or buy. Oh, magnetic card. Okay. Bypass electronics, usually regardless of its strength or complexity. $5,000. What?
Well, think about how powerful that would be.
That's seriously powerful. You get one of those, and it's just like beep. That's really cool. A booster that immediately places you in dying condition and then forces an attempt to become awakened at a +3 dice bonus. That's cool.
Yeah, but look at the price on that.
Yeah, but it's cool.
It is cool.
Oh, that's oh, do you have to like go to a ayahuasca shaman to experience that? And it's expensive. Okay, Purger, one-time use device that resalts your engram. So you can do it not on downtime. Much more to come. You should totally crowdsource this stuff, Wylock. You should totally make community posts and say, give me ideas. And I mean, be explicit and say it's going in the game, but you're gonna harvest harvest the groupthink. Or if you ever want to get on a video chat with me and just spitball ideas for a while, I always find that doing that with a group of people is so much faster, and you just can really riff off of each other really well. I mean, I'm not telling you what to do or anything, but for speed, that would be something I would recommend. Biographs. Okay. Biographs must be installed and removed by a doctor. Define doctor. You know?
Yeah, especially in Cyberpunk.
Exactly. Notice that biographs have no prerequisites in their rules, never depend on your character's scores. Yeah, that makes sense. System overload. While you cannot intentionally install more biographs than your soul score. Oh, that's an interesting dynamic. Like your sense of self limits the amount of cybernetic stuff you're allowed to put on your body.
But the thing is when you reduce the number of core attributes in a game down to as few as 3, those attributes kind of do a lot of different. They wear a lot of hats.
They wear a lot of hats, but I like it. I
love the simplicity.
Yeah. -4 done to all your slings. The penalty persists until you recover soul. Ooh.
Yeah, it's extremely harsh.
Yeah.
So in this case, a malice could really bring
Like
you
a
down.
malice could really screw you over.
Yeah,
Like if you just have a malice that you're hungover and not feeling hot on yourself, and you're just having a depressed day, like that's rough. It's like, who am I a machine or am I a person? You know. Oh man. Okay. And we get pictures of all the stuff. So on your torso. So I assume when it says torso, you can't have more than one torso thing. I might have scrolled past that up here. But soak shock damage apply +2 bonus. So you just get underskin armor, blast pods on your feet, explosive knee braces. This is awesome. I love this. And I love how simple it is. You just
it's simple, but these pages really sort of bring home the artistic style of this game.
Yes.
This is sort of like the soul of the game right here.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree. Like, so if we go back to the beginning of the stream when I said I look for a core mechanic that exemplifies what the game is about, it's this. We've now struck the pay dirt. This is where the gold is. It's these things that make this game Cyberpunk.
The biographs,
the fact that you have to use unis in game to pay a doctor to be on the same footing as people that have already done this stuff. That is the most like if you can't afford it, you just suck.
Yeah,
you don't have this stuff. That is so Cyberpunk. Because if you're like extremely wealthy,
well, I mean, you do start off with 4,000, right? So you
start off with so you can start off with some of these, but like think about how much in a Cyberpunk setting. Like think about how much some corporate granddaughter would have that just has their cute little Pomeranian and they fly around on their private jet, and they've got all of these. You know what I mean? Like they or they've got as many as they could ever want. And it's
you can have only 4 slots.
Right. You can only have 4 slots, but they've got experimental ones that aren't in the book, is what my point is.
True.
So it would be interesting if you we haven't bumped into it yet. I'm now looking, Wylock, for guidelines on how to make your own. As an action, you can instantly know the locations, but not identifies of everyone who has your current engram. That's cool. No artwork on these. Synaptic arm wraps. Oh, I want the artwork. The artwork is so good. It's like how you look at MMOs and you get your ability rotation at the bottom of the screen. Is what I feel like. It looks like those icons. They're really cool. +2 bonus to that. Live wire reticle. Fire a ranged weapon. Add a you get a red dot sight in your eye. That's awesome. Magneto shield. Soak energy better. mask. You instantly make your face look like someone else's at will. Oh. Whenever you attempt to crack a physical lock, apply a plus D4. Nano keyring. These are all just snapfire reflex. Yeah, I love all of these.
Yeah, I think these are great.
Yeah, these are great. Surgical auto gloves. Okay. You can use your action to try and save someone who is currently in the dying condition. Sling 4, and if successful, they recover 2 wounds. So I haven't seen how you heal people. Like, what does healing look like outside of using surgical auto gloves? I haven't seen that.
That's true. Like, there's not like a medical skill check.
Yeah. I would also like to see, and maybe there was a medical. Is there a medical trait? Did you see a medical trait when we were flying by a lot of those? Spatial tracker. After seeing a potential hijack target, you no longer need to have line of sight. Yeah, you no longer need. There's a couple typos in here. Stasis vortexer. Choose one target to be enshrouded in a stasis field until the beginning of your next turn. The target is effectively frozen in time, unable to do anything, but also unable to be affected by anything other than, I guess, the rotation of the Earth. Whenever you sling to achieve something in social interaction, apply +2 bonus vanity mod. And yeah, like you know, we think that, you know, Photoshop and cosmetics does things today. Imagine what the highest quality vanity mods could do for pop stars and supermodels in this world, and gram tracers. Dozens more to come. And then we get a map of a possible Rook City. OmniNet diving. Currently dumping in blurbs of text for previous text that I want to hold on to. So this looks like lore type stuff.
Let's see, it says this will be approximately half of the bulk of the book, so there should be a lot more detail here.
Yeah. So. Let's see here. The section contains helpful information for the admin. So that one page, what was it, like page 36? There was something up there that had like random tables for traveling. I would see that in for the admin section.
Right. Good point.
Traversing was the tables, the traversing section.
Right.
Flow at the table, managing NPCs in combat. Just good general advice stuff here. Bonuses and penalties. Do not introduce Yeah, here we go again. If you do, you will double account for the difficulty because character abilities have already been addressed. The notion of expertise. Do not include any dice roll modifiers. Do not change the target. This is a really interesting stance.
Yeah, it is.
It's a really interesting stance. I'm not saying it's a bad stance, but I would want we should have another conversation, Wylock. I would be really curious of how you came to this. I really want to know how you came to this decision. I really want to know why you're so convicted on this. Because you may teach me something I haven't thought of.
That's the right attitude.
This is that's a really interesting stance.
Yeah, I've never seen that before.
Yeah, I've never seen that before. And I mean, Wylock's he was explaining like how he came up with the power curve and like things that he was testing using like Excel macros and stuff like that. Like he didn't come to this decision just by fiat. Like he thought this through. He's a smart guy. So I want to know what are your priors? What caused you to get here? It's an interesting stance. I've never seen that before. Awarding ad hoc XP. Yep, you got to do stuff like that because they killed the baddie, the big bad. Enhancing OmniNet dies during the die if this happens. Role playing versus role playing. Those fall somewhere in the middle. Yep, that's good. Likely questions. Okay, so we get into some FAQ. Moderating downtime. Interesting word. You didn't choose admitting downtime. Setting the mood. To be written. Just say play midnight in the background. Let's see here. Designing scenarios. It's combat modes. Yeah. Just playing with miniatures.
Okay, yeah. So this is that
Yeah,
page
here
I
we
was
go.
talking about.
Yeah.
It's
It's possible to simulate combat. Doing so will slow down the game. Use strategy in the hobby of aspect of miniatures. This is the AD&D and basic D&D and OD&D approach. All the crunch is in the admin section for combat. Everything that is presented to the players is just the bare basics. So 1 represents 1 meter in the game. Performing a scramble. You can move 10 plus body inches.
I mean, I think he was doing such a good job of keeping it theater of the mind that I didn't need this page. It kind of confused me, actually.
Yeah, I understand why, like, unless you're married to these numbers, Wylock, I would consider looking at other systems of handling miniature play that more appropriately reinforce theater of the mind, rather than getting into the crunchy nitty-gritty of movement. Like Index Card RPG uses a banana as a movement.
Well, yeah, I mean, plenty. Yeah,
or
near, far,
near. Yeah, the prepositional phrase system.
right.
Fate Core literally uses aspects of, like, the area of combat has aspects. Like, you can just say as a prepositional phrase, I am by the door, or I am by the thing, and you have a map on the table, and you know, like, the general locations of where everything is, so you know if you're in melee range or not, because you're in the same prepositional phrase. Like, I am now by the door too, you know. And I think that would help reinforce the theater of the mind aspect that you were originally going for.
Agreed.
Yeah. The project maneuver. Protect maneuver requires that you make a... Is this a new maneuver? Take cover. Hold. Oh, no, protect. Yeah. Protecting at some point during... Get down at eye level at the table. Something that I've seen wargamers do, which I love doing. It's whenever I do any kind of wargaming, it's my wife's favorite tool to use. Like, even if it's not her turn, she just likes using it. Get a laser level thing that draws a laser line on the table.
That's awesome.
It's so fun because you can, like, literally put one end of the laser on the gun of the miniature.
Wow.
And it's like, does the laser intersect with terrain before it hits my miniature? You know?
I'm surprised that lasers aren't. I mean, Games Workshop should just be selling those.
I know, right? But they don't. That's a missed opportunity.
Yep.
They milk their clients for everything else.
Right?
Why not that?
Just double the price.
Yeah, admin cheat sheet, reiteration of information previously the present. Okay. Stuff, non-player characters. Let's see here. I guess this is just, here we go. This is good. Pleb, leader, brute. A couple of different archetypes, riot cops, security guards, samurais, corporate. I guess this is like if you need an analyst or something. Mind 3, soul 2. Yeah. What does he got? Loot. Oh, you roll 1d6 for loot. So it's does everybody have loot? Did we see that? Everybody's got loot?
Everyone's got a loot.
Everybody's got loot. I'm driving everybody crazy in the stream here by scrolling through them. Samurai. Yes. 2, 3, 2. Mind 3. And they have nothing on 1 of 3. Yes. Boosters, none. Weapons, melee or unarmed. Omninet runner. Cyber assassin. I didn't see anything in the notes about combat and diving at the same time. I'm going to try and playtest this with some friends, Wylock, and specifically create concocted situations to stress where I'm seeing holes in the rules and see how it feels. XP 90 security, XP 120. By the way, If you guys are into crafting at all, the 2 videos that Wylock has recently released on his channel, Wylock's Armory, he's crafted these out of like holiday decorations and old like model tank kits and Gundam kits and crap, and just like random bits and bobs. They're amazing crafts, and to see them, you'd think that they came out of an assembled kit.
That's
when
so
he's
cool.
done. It's such great crafting.
I was into crafting for a while, and then
Right?
I started getting into 3D printing, and I've gotten so lazy and
Yeah.
so uncreative now. I just print
Oh man.
stuff. And so to
Yeah.
see Wylock stuff, I still watch his channel, and I'm like, man, that's so good.
It's a total skill. Yeah.
It is.
But, I mean, go subscribe to his channel anyway.
Yeah.
But and to Dave, and thank you, Dave, for being on the stream.
Yeah, man.
This is killer. Okay, so now we're at the character sheet. So we got body, and there's your check boxes for the malices. So we have 5 different healthy conditions and dying. So just like cars, which have 5 structure, we have 5 healthy and dying. And then your biographs and enough room to declare what the ability is. You can write that down. Room for a portrait, various item and weight.
Are those ammo types? Do they match the ones in the book?
Ammo type, low cal, high cal. Oh no, yeah, we need to low cal, high cal shells, explosives, junks. I think it was bullets. It was bullets, shells, explosives,
Capacitor.
Capacitor, and then there was like a fusion reactor one or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then in dev. What is in dev?
In development traits.
Ah, that's right. Skills that are yeah. And then listing of your traits. Yeah. And then more cool artwork on the back of the book. I love that this guy with the mohawk, with the bio arms, he's like he seems to be recurring a lot. I think I've seen him 3 times. That needs to be the Neon Skies guy. I think that needs to be the mascot. If he's not already, he's so iconic looking. He needs to be the guy for sure. Like if you go back and do any like tutorial blurbs, or like how WotC does what do they call it, sage advice in the sides of reprint books. Like he's the guy who needs to be saying those things in speech bubbles. If you do something like that, that's my recommendation. He's the guy. Anyway, I think that we've hit the end of the PDF, and we've been going for almost 2.5 hours now. 2 hours 13 minutes. So but let me get back to the browser here. And so yeah, thank you very much, Dave, for hanging out and providing a second voice, a second opinion. I always like having another person on the stream. So if you guys have not subscribed to Dave's channel, it's just Dave Thomivore. Go check him out. He does a lot of different RPG reviews. You got anything that you're working on that you want to share?
I'm just really getting into my newsletter these days. I just sent my last newsletter of the year yesterday, and just into that. Man, I'm just excited about some games coming out next year. And
what are you excited about? Just out of curiosity.
Oh man, a ton of games. Heroes of Cerulean, which is a sort of like a 16-bit styled pixel art rules light RPG out of Sweden. Household is a game by Two Little Mice. They made Broken Compass, and this you play as like tiny people in a magical kingdom, but you're inside of a house, just like a large human house. And so everything's big to you, like the rats and all this stuff.
Right.
Tokyo Otherscape is a game by the creators of City of Mist, and they're using the same rule set basically, but it's kind of like Cyberpunk actually, but it uses a really sort of complex take on Powered by the Apocalypse.
Yeah.
It goes on and on. The Shadow of the Weird Wizard is created by Shadow of the Demon Lord. That might come out.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Lots of stuff.
Lots.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you guys for joining us on the chat. And And Wylock, thanks for sharing the PDF with us to look at. I hope we illustrated some different thoughts that we had. And if you go check out Wylock's community page, he's posted where you can download the PDF and check it out yourself. So if you give it a playtest, provide some feedback to Wylock. It's still in playtest mode right now. So, and I'm sure he'd appreciate getting some feedback. It's hard to get feedback sometimes. So, right now it's really starting to tighten up. I can tell it's really starting to look good. This is a massive monumental project, and I'm blown away with just how complete it is already. So, but yeah, good work. Keep it up. And thank you, everybody.
Good work.
Thanks again for
Happy
coming on
New
the
Year,
stream,
by the way.
Happy New Year, everybody. And I will see everybody later. Take care. Bye.
Later, brother.